Уважаемые коллеги,
Dear colleagues, good morning. Today is the 2nd of September, and congratulations on the start of the school year. We are going to be doing some studying today, right now, because we're beginning the online conference within the International Online Business Mission in the area of information security and business software for Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. My name is Andrei Zhukovsky, and I'm the head of the digital platform for business meeting B2B Russia.com and vice president of the Russian Union of Exhibitions and Fairs. And I have the honor of being the moderator of today's business conference. Let us take care of some housekeeping issues. This online mission meeting is going to be lasting for 2.5 hours. We have several very interesting speakers. Please stick to your time limit. It would be great if you could leave some time for questions and answers. The agenda is on the site of the conference where you got registered for this conference. We have two YouTube channels on in Russian and in English. This conference is being interpreted simultaneously. I can monitor questions that you will be putting in these YouTube channels, and I will be asking these questions of our speakers. If you're a Russian speaker, you are supposed to use the Russian channel, and I'm going to be using the Russian channel as well. And of course, the speakers will be using the language that they are most comfortable with. The speakers can ask questions of other speakers and ask questions in our chat function. So that's all for the housekeeping issues. And let's go back to the conference target. We're going to be talking about information security and business software. These are the key trends for developing large systems, and the role of the business in the development of economies is obvious. And of course, no business can exist without software. Risks are growing in all fields. And of course, the role of information security is growing with them. So our business mission brings together exporters that operate on one of the most rapidly developing markets, promising market, and most competitive markets in the world. The organizer of this business mission is the Russian Expert Center. This has been a tradition. They have been doing a lot to make sure that Russian products and goods and services are recognizable and well sold across the globe. I would like to give the floor to Pavel Shabalov, who is the Director for Organization of Business Missions at the Russian Expert Center. Mr. Shabalov, good morning. You have the floor. Good morning, Mr. Zhukovsky. On behalf of the Russian Expert Center, I would like to welcome all of the participants of today's conference. Mr. Zhukovsky was absolutely right when he pointed out that IT is very important for the Russian Export Center. It's probably one of the key areas because for REC 2021 and 2022 are going to be marked by digitalization because the entire range of our support measures is going to be transitioned to the digital platform. Using the single window approach, we have already launched a number of services that allow us to sell electronically applications for subsidies and support of that kind, to receive analytical reports and to organize other functions. Going back to today's conference agenda, I'd like to say that despite the gradual comeback to selling products and services abroad, the pandemic is giving its way to the normal course of things. The online mode is a priority still for us when we are conducting such business missions and events like this. In 2020, we had 17 meetings like this, bringing together more than 400 participants. This year, we've already had 11, and by the end of the year, we will have up to 20 events, bringing together more than 500 companies. Speaking about today's business mission, I'm happy to say that it took us some time to identify the niches where we need to concentrate in the area of IT and information security and software for business. According to our polls, were included in the list of priorities, and that is why we're going to be helping as much as we can in this area. It's very important for us to track the results of this business mission, because at the end of this year and by the end of September, we'll have to update the list of our events, congresses, fairs, and online business missions for the next year. We're going to be identifying the areas which we would need to take care of through business missions and exhibitions in 2022. On a separate note, let me say that our today's business mission will bring together more than 26 companies. We will have more than 200 meetings with their potential buyers and customers of their products. And as we did our analysis of the target markets, we realized that the markets that we are targeting this year are probably some of the most promising markets for the industry, because when we talk about what are the competitive edges that our exporters have, we would need to mention that they have an advantage in terms of price, functionality, and ease of use. And it seems to me that the traditional liaisons that had been built with these target countries through our business missions will allow us to get the necessary political support to greenlight our technologies and solutions. In conclusion, I would like to wish all of the participants of this mission very good and productive meetings, finding potential customers and contacts. And if there is interest on your side, we would be happy to provide GR support for our companies, because GR support, government relations support, is very important, and we will do what it takes to ensure that this interest that we will see as part of this online mission will translate into real contracts. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Shabalov. You have set the right tone for this conference, and it is my pleasure to turn the microphone over to another speaker who also wants to welcome the participants of this meeting. I'd like to give the floor to the representative of the ministry that has been quite supportive of digital technologies in Russia, and I would like to give the floor to Artem Puchkov, Deputy Head of Digital Technologies and International Cooperation at the Department of Digital Technologies with the Ministry of Industry and Trade of the Russian Federation. Mr. Puchkov, the floor is yours. Good morning, good afternoon, dear colleagues. I'm happy to welcome all of the participants of this business mission. The Department of Digital Technologies gladly supports business initiatives in terms of export of their technologies and their implementation at other countries. Let me note the following. The ministry relies on a number of official documents, and I would like to draw your attention to one of the key documents that pertains to exports. It's called the Country Action Plan. This is a document that sets objectives for our trade missions for the period through 2023. The department has been paying a lot of attention to analytical work last year. We did a lot of analysis of comparison between export and imports, trying to identify what are the needs and demands of our partners so that we could target the attention of our exporters to that. And there's an item in that plan that deals with building a map of demand. We are happy to welcome our business partners, and we urge them as they go to international markets to draw attention to the needs of their specific partners. First of all, I'd like to note that information security is one of the key IT technologies in itself, and its goal is to ensure the sovereignty of our own country and of every single company and business entity. And as we identify the needs of our potential foreign partners, we could use this model to attract business and academic communities to come up with new innovative solutions. It will be our pleasure to support every company, be that an association or a separate company, and we would welcome all of your initiatives. And of course, you can go to the Ministry of Industry and Trade officially. Thank you so much. and have a great and constructive discussion. Thank you very much, Mr. Puchkov. It's great that the Ministry for Industry and Trade of the Russian Federation has been so supportive. All of the colleagues that are in the market understand that and will continue going to you with their needs across a variety of issues. And we are moving on. All over the world, professional associations are growth drivers, and they express the interest of their pertinent industries. They lobby and promote the interests of their companies. They contribute to driving legislation. They create sectoral standards, and they lobby the interests of their players. They always know who are the best players on the market, and with the right approach, they can give you the best piece of advice whenever it comes to various sectoral issues. The largest IT association that was created more than 20 years ago is the association known as Russoft. And it's my pleasure to give the floor now to the president of this association, Mr. Valentin Makarov. You have 15 minutes for your presentation, and if you could leave 2 minutes for Q&A, that would be great. So the floor is yours. Thank you very much. It's such a great pleasure to see a lot of enthusiasm on your part. And of course, we have a lot of people working in Russia and abroad. We conduct annual polls. Mr. Makarov, I'm sorry, but I think there's a problem with your sound. Can you be closer to your microphone? So every year we do studies of the export sector of software development. So we have a lot of information about what are the segments our developers concentrate on, what markets they target. So I can tell you that last year our companies sold their products worth about $8.7 billion. That has not been a lot of growth because of the pandemic, but that is natural. But it is important to understand what are the emerging markets. What is the role that the emerging markets are playing in this? But I would like to say that the emerging markets, including China, stand for about 40% of the world market. And if we can talk about sales from Russia, that market for Russia was only 11%, which is far from 40. Over the last 4 years, that share had grown from 6 to 11%, and year on year, this is continuing to grow amid the sanctions and the anti-Russian propaganda on the developed market. The share of the emerging markets is growing, and of course, the interest in these markets is growing primarily with the product companies, first of all, and service companies are more attached to developed markets where you can really use our best qualities and offer the best and competitive products. So speaking about the emerging markets, the situation is quite diverse. There's a lot of polarization on those markets. Thanks to globalization, some of these markets are restoring their positions on the world market. And thanks to the globalization, they have been the recipients of technologies transfers. But other countries are still in the previous technological mode, where they were consumers of advanced products from the developed nations. But this transition creates new opportunities. So as we move on to the new technological mode, which is based on the cyber physical systems, this opens opportunities for countries that have never been leaders to become some of the leaders, the ones that will be spearheading this new technological mode. This changes these countries' mode to an attitude towards new technologies and their attitude towards the partners that bring them these technologies. The external factor is very important. These are developing nations. They have always been a large market for developed nations, and that included solutions in the area of cybersecurity. So they would get this cybersecurity solution from a developed nation as a black box. But whenever they had a problem, they would have to call the technician from the developed nation to fix the problem. And as a result, the talent that is needed for this has not accumulated in these countries to further develop these technologies. With the transfer of technologies, you would learn to develop new state-of-the-art technologies, and developing nations with large populations and large economies felt that they needed to be independent. They need partners that would not just bring them a black box, but instead would transfer their technology and would teach local technicians to develop their technologies. And that includes the last mile. And they would protect their solutions from attacks and unauthorized access. So that is the trend that we can see there, a trend towards independence. In that sense, Russia is one of the three key suppliers worldwide in the area of cybersecurity. And of course, that attracts a lot of interest to us from these nations. We have accumulated a critical mass of engineers that can use these technologies. They started by exporting their services in developing software. They learned and kept learning. And then they learned how to develop products. And in the area of cybersecurity, we are one of the key world players. There's a rating of the best solutions in software. If you look at the security segment of that, you will see there more than one company from Russia, several companies, in fact. Of course, Kaspersky Lab participates in four various segments of info security. But in addition to this company, there are several companies that are also involved in data loss prevention. You can come up with a whole list of companies that can offer a swathe of solutions, some of the best solutions. And there's also IB Group. That is to say, there are a lot of companies that have the leading positions in the area of cybersecurity. It is clear why Russia is at the top there. Russia competed with the United States historically, and therefore you needed to have the best information security. And in that sense, we were quite competitive with the United States. But now we have China emerging on that market. Initially, China just produced a lot of hardware under licenses from US producers. Now it has become one of the key leaders. And in this developing world, there's now a sense that, as we know from Snowden on WikiLeaks, that US software have vulnerabilities that would provide you with backdoors to your most secret systems of communication and data handling systems, not just in emerging nations, but also in others, like in Germany. We all know what happened there. That allows them to control everything, government processes, the military, and of course, the goal is to get rid of that. This apprehension is quite natural. People are looking for an alternative. China has emerged. Well, it used to be another developing nation looking at globalization. But now they are capable of producing hardware and software. And therefore, the attitude from these nations is not unambiguous, I would say. Whenever we're talking about the transit of Chinese goods, we know that Chinese products have a dominating position there, but in countries with a population of about 100 million or more, the attitude toward China is quite apprehensive.
They also view China as the provider of such IT systems that allow them to colonize the IT space in those countries. And it's a very good thing for us because China is viewed not as a partner, but as a big brother, as the United States that wants to colonize them. In this regard, uh, Russia has a very good window of opportunities in those countries. And as the new technological paradigm is being shaped up, inevitably, as we move to new uh, cyber systems, artificial intelligence-based systems, security requirements become more stringent, and they call for new level of security, new attitude to security. Uh, a new space is created, integrated security is created, and the security systems are designed at the same time as as the overall system. So the new requirements, they opening up new opportunities for Russian IT security companies. So we can provide not only solutions, but we can provide platform-based solutions. We can form IT security infrastructure, which can be used by Indonesia, Vietnam. They can use that infrastructure to build their IT systems, knowing that they have this IT security environment. It's a very strong incentive which can be used in the marketing as a marketing tool. So we will provide new structures to them, uh, allowing them to move to a new technological paradigm. They can build pilotless cars, pilotless transport systems, and we will ensure a new level of security within the framework of the new technological paradigm. On the basis of this system, we can build specific security systems, for example, for smart energy sector or smart city. This opportunity to provide platform security solutions which have a much higher margin than just providing components. Of course, this allows Russia to beef up its exports, and this would lead to geopolitical will be providing security to those countries. And of course, this will move our countries closer on the political plane. Uh, so essentially, this can serve the role of a geopolitical integrator around the Russian Federation. It's a great thing, a great development. That's what must be done. When you provide this platform, you need to understand that we need to train a generation of engineers in those countries that would be ready to embrace this new technology, develop it, and become a conduit of that technology going forward in their country and in other countries as well. So it's an important point because the training of engineers in a country where we want to supply IT security solutions, we can start this training process already now. And the Russian Expert Center has a role to play, can provide support. We can invite engineers to Russia and train them in Russia. Our company is ready to do that. It's mature enough to provide this training support for other countries, to train personnel for other countries to use our systems. So this is the right way to move, training a new generation of engineers that like back in the Soviet days, that would be more predisposed to use the Russian product. And this platform covers different areas. It covers also hardware, but because you cannot use other companies' hardware when you have your own security system. So when you integrated security at the level of software and hardware, in this sense, we have been for a long time saying that the Russian electronics is at a very low level while we are competing at the global market. Now we're moving to a new technological paradigm, and now we're seeing new opportunities. Our electronics, our processors we can sell them globally, and we can sell hardware, software units, and the margins will be different, and the sales will be different. And when our processor developers can make contribution to these high margins, it's an important opportunity for the Russian electronics industry to sell integrated products, software, hardware products. So I urge you, colleagues, being aware of this global idea, please make it happen locally. You need to realize that there are opportunities out there, opportunities for exponential growth in sales and the penetration of Russian technologies globally. These opportunities do exist. We tried this, we followed this route in the past. It used to be dominated by US, British companies. But once we heard what WikiLeaks and Snowden had to say, we saw that there are ways to combine security tools and to move away from one purveyor of security systems. We need to move to other countries' markets. We need to sell our products abroad. Now we have 1% of the global market, slightly more. We need to move to platform-based exports. And in that case, we would be able to get 10, 20% of the market. And security technologies would definitely be a driver of this move. Valentin Leonidovich, thank you so much for your in-depth analysis. It was very interesting presentation. I wanted to ask you a question. I urge all participants to ask questions. I see the chat. All your questions will be forwarded to the speakers. Valentin Leonidovich, you are one of the most insightful experts in our market. You're head of the association. You have huge experience. What kind of advice would you give to exporters, those exporters that are now trying to access foreign markets? What are the key mistakes that they should avoid? What kind of practical advice can you give them? Can you share with them? Colleagues, an advice not very obvious, but an advice which I've realized is important. So we come to the countries that have a different psychology, different culture, different way of thinking, different mentality. Social processes are structured differently. So when we approach them as people like us, we can make a lot of mistakes. For example, there are a lot of differences between us and the Arabs. Indonesia is a Muslim world. It's a very different world. So you need to be very cautious. But they have their own rules. They have their own ways of dealing with addressing things. So, and this may cause a lot of problems, a lot of mistakes. You know, a king has 28 daughters. All of them have different relations with the king, with their father. Some of them are enemies. So you need to be aware of the societies that you're trying to enter. And you need to find a partner who is ready to develop your products and to stand behind you. And so it's very important to understand the mentality, the psychology of the markets you're trying to enter, because you'll be working with the people living there, and you need to rely on their expertise, on their life experiences. And please approach the Russian government and the structures of the Russian government, seek their help and assistance. Because they can offer financial instruments that would allow you to compete against the Chinese. You know, the Chinese corrupt the local population. So you need to have a set of tools, clear, transparent tools that the government wants to make available to exporters. So seek assistance from the state and just make sure that the tools provided by the state they fit your business structure and business goals. Uh, we can work together actively and seek very positive results. Valentin Leonidovich, thank you so much once again for your in-depth analysis, for your drive, for your call for action. I'm envious of the digital industry because not every industry has such a strong association uh, headed by such a strong personality as you are. Thank you very much for joining our conference. Good health, all the best in your endeavors. Thank you. We're moving on, dear colleagues. Dear colleagues, our business mission has gathered 26 leading exporters in Russia. The organizers of this business mission, as we said, is headed by the Russian Export Center traditionally, and REC is not only a huge, beautiful, modern headquarters in Moscow and offices across the country, but also a huge network of foreign trade missions. And now uh, we on how to use this network. Uh, Mr. Prokhorenko, head of the um, director for the development of the foreign network at the Russian Export Center, he will speak on how to make best use of this network. So you have 15 minutes, please. The floor is yours. Dear colleagues, good afternoon. A pleasure to welcome you to our conference. Andrei Kuzmich, thank you so much for this opportunity. I would like to speak uh, globally, not only about the international network of the Russian Export Center, but also about Russia and its ecosystem. Valentin Leonidovich spoke about the promotion of software, hardware units, complexes. I would like to list the tools available at REC that make up an ecosystem, promotion ecosystem. Expert promotion centers in 82 regions, our regional mission rep office in Russia, our foreign network that has 11 offices. Clearly, I'm talking about trade missions of the Russian Federation abroad, with which we are engaged very actively globally. Uh, if we don't rely on our partners, just using our 11 offices, we wouldn't be able to do this active work in promoting our exports. We are developing and promoting our export network. We're looking for strong partners across the globe to present and position our products as favorably as possible. We look for local partners, and in the near future, using our one-stop shop digital service, we're going to launch our platform for the partners. It would make it possible it would offer promotional services to our exporters. Of course, we combine all kinds of tools because the market is very competitive now, and we are entering the market with our solutions, with the Russian products, jointly with the support of our financial institutes, XCR, Rosexim Bank. I think colleagues will touch on that later. Our rep office, our partners abroad are geared towards the identification of those niches and areas, product niches that are in high demand abroad, and they're addressing those needs, uh, conveying those needs to our Russian companies so that they can meet the demand of our foreign markets. Uh, Oftentimes, they combine integrated solutions when Russian companies can act as EPC contractors, uh, enlisting additional counterparties, subcontractors, and pool of Russian subcontractors for those projects. African, Asian, Middle Eastern countries are top priority geographies for us for the development of REC for a network this year. We are going to set up a shop in the United Arab Emirates. We have an active rep office in China, Vietnam. Last year, we set up a trading company, a Russian trading company in China, jointly with the REC and Vneshekonom Bank. The Russian trading company is a unique tool of promoting uh, Russian exporters and provides a full cycle of support mechanisms, support tools, starting from the buyout of products and the further distribution of the products in the Chinese market, going through all the stages of logistics, customs clearance, certification, and etc. We are actively promoting our products using uh, uh, stands and pavilions of our partners. Our partners in many countries are acting as commercial entities. They are formal distributors that help our companies enter their respective markets, knowing the specifics, the peculiarities, knowing about the 28 daughters, the 28 wives of the ruler. They make money for themselves and they promote our companies as well. In the meantime, so at REC, we act as an aggregator of this export support system. We have set up the entire uh, chain. We've set up the whole value chain from our for our export companies using our one-stop shop service. We know which tools can be best used at different stages. We invite everybody to active cooperation in promoting our products. I would like to thank you once again for this seminar, for inviting me, and I hope it would lead to new contracts for our company abroad. Dmitry Yurievich, thank you so much for your remarks. If I may, a question. You are in charge of the agency partner network at REC. What should be the practical actions of an exporter? What should an exporter do in order to use the services of your network? Say, I'm an exporter. I want to enter a market, for example, South Africa or United Arab Emirates. I want to enter that market. What shall I do? Yes, I got your question. It's very simple. One-stop shop. We've been talking about this tool for a long time, and this instrument has already been awarded in the IT industry. Recently, we were awarded a prize, IT prize, our one-stop shop service, one-stop shop portal. The whole idea is to simplify the process of entering foreign markets. So you need to enter the one-stop shop website and tell us about yourself. Let's say you need to come to us and ask us for help to enter foreign market because we have proposals and offers for each company, each type of company. They're customized. We have analytics service in place now, allowing companies to select the best, most optimal, promising market for its products. Next step, the company automatically will be uh, uh, forwarded to this or that country in our network, and we will take charge of this process. We will take care of it on this road. We will walk it through, get it acquainted with the partners, and if need be, we can send people to the expert school so that they can avoid making mistakes committed by many other companies in the past. So one-stop shop is a single portal for our exporters. Each region, if a person well, there are not so many people, the people who are not very well versed in IT systems. So, but each region has an expert support center, and we will walk you through.
Thank you so much, Dmitry. And I think that the IT companies that gathered here would be finding it easier to work through this one-stop shop approach platform. So the recipe is very straightforward. Open up your account. I'm sure you already have it uh, at the website of Russian Export Center, one-stop shop or single window. Send your application, and then they'll take over and will help you, of course. And you need to be active and proactive. This is something that we all welcome very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Prokorenko. We move on, and now we go to the African continent. South Africa, the most economically advanced nation on the African continent. It is my great pleasure to give the floor to Maxim Bureev, a trade representative of the Russian Federation in the Republic of South Africa. He will be followed by Sergei Piskunov, a consultant on the trade mission in South Africa. Is everything all right there? I can see both of you there, Mr. Bureev. So, Mr. Bureev, what are the prospects for Russian exports in the area of information technology in South Africa? Dear colleagues, we have 15 minutes for the two of you. Maybe we'll be able to allot a little bit more to you. We are a little bit ahead of schedule, so it would be great if we could give you an opportunity to answer one or two questions at the end. So the floor is yours. Thank you very much, Mr. Zhukovsky, for your assessment and appreciation of South Africa's economic development level. Well, this is something that is being debated, whether it's Egypt, Nigeria, or South Africa that are the top African nations. But South Africa is probably one of the most um, technologically advanced countries in Africa. And IT area is very much in sync with that. And we've noted that South Africa, as IT sector, had been going through an interesting development process. The core of its hardware system was built via its interactions with China's suppliers. And this is now beginning to uh, crumble as a result because of the low quality of initial suppliers. And so now the local customers are interested in more advanced solutions and more reliable solutions. As for the impact of the pandemic, I would like to maybe argue with the previous speakers. The ITC sector cannot really complain about the pandemic because they had been given a boost in terms of development. They have been using very effective tools for international interactions. We are not very technologically savvy, but we're experts in other fields. But on the topic of this agenda, I'd like to say that the ITC sector is core to this discussion. So I think it presents a window of opportunity. We've conducted some serious work to define demand for potential Russian technologies and the software and hardware sectors. We've identified which sectors are promising. And I think that the cybersecurity sector is not something that is likely to admit foreign entrants, but who knows? But such sectors do exist, and we see that there is some potential there. And my colleague Sergey will just give an overview What are the needs of the country's ITC sector in hardware and software solutions? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Zhukovsky, dear colleagues. I think Mr. Purev was modest when he talked about our level of expertise. This is something that we have been doing very actively over the last 3 years. We have studied and analyzed the current demands in various sectors and subsectors of the country's markets. What I would like to say first and foremost is that the key impact of the pandemic was that, uh, as different from what happened prior to 2019, South Africa's internet was using cellular data provided by cellular operators. But when the lockdown was introduced and people had to switch to remote operations, it turned out that cellular operators cannot uh, withstand the pressure. And so they needed to expand their capabilities and come up with very serious and robust networking capabilities. The ICT sector, the telecoms sector, is uh, one of the top high tech sectors. Its capitalization is about $15 billion as of last year. There is an opportunity to increase that capitalization, and that is something that opens new opportunities for the emerging networks. I'm talking about an investment of about $1.5 billion, something that could be implemented in the next year or so. That's what local providers are looking for. In addition to that, in addition to the demand for services, which is similar to the situation on the financial markets, which underwent a modernization process. Diversification is key to competition, and the situation is very similar on the ICT markets. Providers and operators are searching for new opportunities for working with clients. B2C is the sector, and that's billions of dollars that can be made here. And speaking about information and communication technologies, there's a swathe of opportunities in the field called Internet of Things, or IoT. Mobile technologies are really well developed in South Africa. The networks have been expanding, so the infrastructure for implementing IoT is there, but it certainly needs to be upgraded. It's sufficient, nevertheless. A couple of $1 billion would probably be enough in the foreseeable future that can be invested in this field, and that's a window of opportunity for Russian producers. The telecom sectors is estimated at about $15 billion, so you have an opportunity for extra 5 or 6 billion dollars, and that is an opening for Russian hardware and software and services providers and producers. Speaking about the software market, um, by the end of 2020, the local organizations started spending 10% more on cybersecurity year on year since they've switched to the remote mode of operation. Those were the highlights. Speaking about the various subsectors that we've identified as promising, there is 10 of them. We can start with government cybersecurity. Mr. Bureev said that not all organizations are um, savvy about this topic, government cybersecurity. There are colleagues of ours who have been participating in our meetings and business missions and webinars uh, that deal with contemporary technologies. Those companies that are here in South Africa, they have been really trying hard to land a contract with the government to become a part of the pool of suppliers for the government. Over the last several years, it has been impossible to get on that pool because this is a very confined area, and cybersecurity solutions to the government are provided by local organizations, and it's unlikely that foreign players will be allowed in. The other area is logistics, retail, contemporary retail and logistics are very digitalized with the tracking systems, trying to find optimal solutions for routing your supplies, delivery chains, and setting up your networks. There are systems of automated monitoring that are put in place, and that is based on contemporary geolocation and navigation systems. The third sector is the fintech sector, dealing with the contemporary state of the art financial technologies. It is quite effective, especially in amid the pandemic. I'm talking about net banking, where you don't have to open a branch. The fourth area is telecoms, which is a fairly large sector, uh, probably the largest money wise. This is where you need to take decisions. You need to have data centers installed. You need to have new hardware, cooled servers. You would need to have transmissions, transmission towers, and various networks. The next thing is the safe and smart cities. It is something that is uh, representing a window of opportunity for Russian suppliers that are one of the top ones in the world. And there's a lot of expertise that is there. There's a lot of uh, information about their success stories. And there are, of course, competitors from Europe and from Asia who work very closely with local providers. This is followed by public safety and security systems, police, and other security services for monitoring and recognition, contemporary control systems, and dispatching systems. And the same goes for projects in the area of emergency situation management. All systems here, emergency systems, are private, not a centralized solution as in Russia, including fire services. Customs systems are also in need of contemporary solutions. And the same goes for border guards. There's the geodetic and cadastre services. Despite the pandemic, the South African economy is still going through its construction boom that started before the pandemic. And therefore, it's a very promising area where you would use geolocation for your cadastre systems. And geopositioning is quite important here for your register building. It's quite a large segment where our producers could probably find some success. The penultimate area is the so-called creation of multifunctional centers. There are several state-run programs in South Africa, programs for government services. They had a pilot which wasn't quite successful compared to our network of multifunctional centers and system for providing government services. This is something that we believe is probably one of the best ones in the world, something that can be used as an example. And finally, telemedicine. There are a lot of areas that are hard to reach in South Africa, where there are no hospitals, and sometimes even no electricity. But there is money in the budgets, local budgets for medical screening and medical checkups, and such programs are being implemented quite broadly in conjunction with healthcare agencies from Europe, for example, from Germany. And this is an opportunity for Russian exporters of such services and software and hardware, because there are not that many players in this field. That's all I had, dear colleagues. Thank you very much, Sergey. I wanted to add that considering the high level of development of the economy and the IT sector of South Africa, uh, one of the prerequisites for success on this market is your ability to promote your product in partnership with local players. Basically, the approach that South Africa is using to importing advanced technologies is very similar to the one that Russia took. You need to find a reliable partner, and a good African tradition is to look a person in the eye, shake the person's hand, and then really get a sense of what that person is like and what his organization is like. And for that, you need to be present on the ground. IT sector is known for being able to operate remotely, but we hope that the pandemic will dissipate very soon, or at least will be manageable, and therefore Congress activities will rebound. And welcome to South Africa, to various Congress areas and exhibitions. Let me add a few practical words of advice. Please do not ignore such a thing as marketing studies and surveys, because as our experience has shown, our colleagues from Business Russia studied a very narrow segment, such as automation of separate business processes, accounting and whatnot in large corporations, financial controlling and whatnot. And it turned out that today, optimizing these functions is something that a lot of competitors are already doing. And so you need to understand what is the promise that exists on the market. And in a small segment, you can have up to 12 or more competitors. So be careful in taking your steps and take advantage of the opportunity. Thank you very much, Mr. Zhukovsky. And we are ready to continue our interaction. Thank you very much, Mr. Burev. Thank you, Sergey. Questions are beginning to pile in from our listeners and watchers. And I would like to encourage you to continue sending us those questions. A person is asking the following question. His nickname is amalgamation of a Spanish band and a Spanish singer. So the question is, do you have information about what kind of solutions are needed on the South African market and what projects are needed? You've partially answered this question. You've talked about the solutions that the South African needs. Please tell us, could you give us examples, specific examples of that, if you know them? And if you don't know them now, can we write to you with a question. Can you comment on this?
Well, first of all, you can always write us. You should write us. South Africa is a proud, well-developed country that has everything. How it works is a whole different matter. If we have a product owned by an exporter, so maybe this respected user attendee with this fancy nickname, maybe he has a specific product. Maybe he can put together a presentation in English, and we will post it on our website. Uh, on our section of Russian exporters keen to enter the South African market. Maybe after that, we'd be able to list potential partners. Maybe he will have more partners than he expected. We are not IT experts, so we have to tackle all kinds of areas, medicine, pharmaceuticals, engineering, etc. So you cannot be an expert in everything. So having seen the list, this distinguished attendee, maybe he would single out 3 or 4 potential partners from this expensive list of partners, and those would be the partners who he would get in touch with, who he would send his proposals to. And if need be, if he needs our support in getting in touch with those organizations, please contact us. We'll be happy to support. Speaking about specific projects, long-term project, modernization of the ERP system of the largest state monopoly. It's being integrated. All its subsystems are being integrated now. So it's a huge project. Or, for example, airport economy, radio, uh, telecom company, so involving all aircraft. So they need software, they need product for this project. So very diverse projects. Once the attendee uh, provides us information on what specifically he's interested in, we'd be happy to help. Yes, we will make your contact details available. We will post them in our chat box. I understand that you are expecting letters to come to you. So from 2 users, Yelena Hamutova and Maria, asked for your contact details. There are some specific questions, specific in the sense that very subject matter oriented. For example, Ms. Pastaeva is asking any requirements to the localization of the production of telecom equipment in state contracts and state bidding procedures. If you don't know, you can write her back. Yes, please send us your questions. Yes, there are certain requirements to telecom equipment. 100% localization. Yes, please write your question. Second question is there a market for Cetra radio telecommunication? Our competitors are Chinese companies, Motorola and others. So specific question, I think, well, in this particular case, we're not experts in this particular area. We need to put a lot of thinking into formulating answer to this question. So please send your specific questions. Yes, we have provided your contact details. Uh, where can you find more money, in the public or private sectors? South Africa is a post-industrial economy, despite its re-industrialization of the past few years. Uh, so services prevail over production. State services prevail in the services market. So statistically, it would be right to say that there's more money in the public sector than private sector. Well, actually, the question is wrongly phrased. You should look for sectors where it's easier to tap into the market, not where there's more money, but where it's easier to tap into that money. Thank you. Ms. Danilova is asking a question. Who is the key competitor? China, Europe, or US? Who's our main competitor? As a matter of fact, speaking about program solutions, software solutions, I think Chinese don't really pose a threat to us. Mostly US. I think the US are key competitors. Speaking about the current situation as I described it, uh, the top-notch Chinese IT companies can, uh, can be interested in this market, and then they can pose a serious competition to us. The current situation in the market, the the physical infrastructure in the IT sector, on the basis of the cheapest solutions, not very good solutions, as practice has shown. So this practice is now becoming thing of the past. So, and so the cheaper Chinese suppliers are no longer our competitors. Thank you. I think everybody has heard your answer. Two quick questions and two quick answers, if I may. Could you please tell us digital marketplaces? I understand that there is a software that is sold digitally. Are you aware of any digital marketplaces where software products are being sold in the South Africa? Well, there are marketplaces. There are lots of them, lots of retail places, software products. I haven't really come across software products at those marketplaces, but they're distributor companies that are present on the web and they sell their products online. But specialized thematic web marketplaces, no, I'm not aware of them. Thank you. I think you can write this question if you have a specific question. If you receive a specific question, you can ask around, ask your colleagues, local players that would provide an answer. Two questions from Yelena Kishkevich. Quick questions. Our company develops OTT platforms for content delivery. RSP, cable operators, content aggregators are key customers. Any peculiarities, any specifics in the South Africa in this particular market segment? Yes, the market. Yes, there are foreign providers of this content. There are local providers. The peculiarities, the specifics, is the position on personal data protection. Two laws were adopted recently that put foreign and local providers on an equal footing. We can provide more information on this, but we need to have more specific questions. Yelena, you have the email. Please send your question. And the second question, why fares are so costly in the South Africa? The at least 10,000 pounds for Africa Touch virtual fair. That's maybe their collective stands. Is there any way to lower the cost? I think it's subject to negotiations. No, they have. We have local fairs, local exhibitions, and international exhibitions. International exhibitions are expensive all over the place, but the exhibitions in the South Africa are probably the cheapest ones you can find. So please send us the topics you're interested in, the areas, and we will come up with a list of fairs and exhibitions. And I think you'll be able to find the suitable platform for participation. Thank you, Sergey Vyacheslamovich, Sergey Yurievich. Thank you so much for uh, joining our seminar. I think after your remarks, our exporters will take a fresh, long, hard look at the South African market. Dear exporters, you have the email address of the South African Trade Mission. Please send them questions. We are moving on now. Dear attendees, Indonesia is one of the largest markets, uh, a huge country with population twice as much as Russia's, 2 million square kilometers area. And at one of the previous conferences, we had a speaker who said that 275 million people, uh, population, there are 63 million enterprises. So it's an interesting format. And now we're going to talk about the prospects of the Indonesian market for Russian exporters. And the remarks will be made by Sergei Rasamakov, trade representative of the Russian Federation in the Republic of Indonesia. 12 minutes, please, so that we have 2 minutes to the questions. The floor is yours. Thank you so much, Andrei Kuzmich. Good afternoon. Good morning, everybody. You were right in saying that Indonesia is one of the most promising markets in terms of the uh, potential for developing cooperation in the IT sphere. Indonesia is also the largest economy in Southeast Asia. Its GDP exceeds 1 trillion US dollars. And until recently, until the COVID-19, the average GDP growth rate were 5%, was 5%. Last week, the president of Indonesia, Joko Widodo, spoke and outlined the priority economic development areas for its government for the remaining 2.5 years until the new presidential elections. The three main areas are as follows: green economy, digitalization of uh, SMEs, and the development of processing industry. As you can see, digitalization is one of the top priorities for the economic development of the country. Quite recently, the US consulting company, Boston Consulting Group, BCG, and Cisco IT company produced a joint report on the development of IT industry in the Asian countries. Maybe many of you have read this report, are familiar with its outcomes. A few numbers. Indonesia, according to that report, is named as the fastest growing market in terms of the industry investments. In particular, according to this report, it's forecast that the average annual growth rate of investments into this segment will be 13% last year. The growth rate of investments in the industry stood at 10%. As you can see, further growth in investments is forecast for this industry, and by the year 2024, overall amount of investments in this segment is forecasted, projected at $6 billion. Of course, sounds great, sounds very promising. But for the time being, Indonesia is still at the early stages of its development in the IT industry. Of course, the Indonesians have progressed very fast. They're catching up with other countries. But in terms of investment size, they're still lagging behind Malaysia and Singapore, where investment amount in 2024 is expected to reach $8 and $19 billion respectively. To say nothing of such leaders as Japan, 150 billion, and China, 141 billion US dollars. In terms of those areas which are of top priority, the COVID-19 pandemic given an impetus to the development of cloud services driven by remote transition to remote working. So according to this report, by the year 2024, about 52% of all investments in the Indonesian IT sector will be related to public cloud services, and the remaining 48% will be related to the IT infrastructure development. The promise of cloud uh, segment attracted global leaders, Amazon, Alibaba, Google services. They're setting up their data centers in Indonesia. At the same time, some companies note that the issues of cybersecurity, high costs, and lack of qualified personnel are hampering the migration to cloud technologies for many companies. Among other promising sectors of this industry, IT industry, can be mentioned cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, online retail trade, etc. There are success stories of cooperation among Russian and Indonesian companies. Our colleague from South Africa mentioned that cybersecurity is a thorny issue when it comes to state authorities and state agencies. In Indonesia, the situation is somewhat better, and it is manifested by the fact that a memorandum of cooperation was signed between Kaspersky Lab and the National Agency for Cryptography and Cybersecurity of Indonesia. That memorandum was signed a few months ago. There are other good examples of cooperation in the online education sphere. The Russian platform Uchi.ru is working very well in Indonesia. A few million, tens of dozens of millions of Indonesian school children have signed up and are using this platform. Maxim Aggregator is working, is present in Indonesia and is well known in the transport services sector. And there are some other examples as well. Uh, a lot of attention being paid to the development of IT infrastructure, communications infrastructure. In the next 2 years, they expect to launch a state telecom satellite with the help of the French Thales company. Our company tried to participate in the tender, but for financial reasons, we had to drop out. Recently, two US tech giants, Google and Facebook, announced their plans to lay three telecom underwater cables, overall length of 43,000 kilometers, connecting Indonesia directly with some Asian Pacific countries and the US. Now Indonesia is using the cable that goes via Singapore. Speaking about the peculiarities of the Indonesian market, they're the same, be it South Africa or Indonesia. First of all, you need to have a reliable and an influential partner that would be promoting and advancing your um, proposals, your products, IT products, and our proposals should be formulated as a commercial offer, not just a brilliant idea which we can share. And if you pay us some money, we will formulate it further. Such offers will not fly. So you need to have a commercially viable products, commercially viable offers. What else? It is important for Russian companies, in addition to events like this one, to participate in industry events, industry fairs, exhibitions, which take place in Indonesia every year. We can provide respective information to interested parties. Uh, on the 25th, 28th of November, they're planning to hold a Russian Industrial Week, Inoprom in Jakarta. Maybe you've heard of that. It will be attended by companies, providers, and suppliers from Russia and other Eurasian Economic Union member states. I don't know if this event will take place or will be postponed because of the COVID pandemic. So it's 50-50 for the time being. Indonesia is still closed. Um, you can enter Indonesia only if you have diplomatic passports or members of a state delegation, uh, government delegation. And even that would not guarantee that you won't have to spend 8 days in quarantine. So this event, if it takes place, it will be supported by the Ministry of Industry and Trade and the Russian Export Center. It may give a strong boost to the development of cooperation with Indonesia in the IT sphere as well. And uh, an idea was an idea to set up a separate stand on Russian IT technologies, and a business forum may have a separate session devoted to the Russian IT products. Should this take place, I urge all participants, attendees of the present event to join this event. Formica is the driving force behind this landmark event. And to reiterate, this event will be supported by the Russian Export Center and the Ministry of Trade and Industry of Russian Federation. Another point I want to make, our companies, particularly smaller ones, SMEs, uh, sometimes it's very difficult for them to enter the Indonesian market independently. And I think it makes sense to set up in Southeast Asia, in Jakarta, or in the respective countries. Indonesia would be more preferable place.
That would reduce specific costs of promoting Russian IT technologies. Such ideas were expressed, and the Bandung Technological University wanted to be one of the partners. It is one of the top ones that develops IT solutions in Indonesia. And if we get back to this idea of one of Russian associations to create such a center that would train local talent, that would be a very good solution in terms of promoting our products, not just in Indonesia, but in neighboring countries of Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Singapore. That's all I had. And I will be happy to take your questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Rosomakov. Can you tell us, based on your past experience, what is the key, or what are the key one or two mistakes that Russian exporters make when they come to Indonesia's market? What do you see all the time? Something that you note quite often, and something that you can forewarn our exporters against? One of the key mistakes they make is in selecting a wrong partner. Very often they select a partner that is not just incompetent, but it would be a partner that could bring financial losses to our company. So I would like to recommend to our companies, especially SMEs, to get in touch with our trade mission, and we will be able to advise them on whether the prospective partner is reliable, how long they had been on the market. So that's very important. You can tell your Russian exporter whether the potential partner is reliable. Yes, so that you would be able to avoid painful mistakes. That's very important. There's a question from Piotr Kotelnikov. Is there any future for developing private protected cloud systems in Indonesia? That's a very pinpointed question, but if you can please tell us what the situation is. Well, cloud technologies, as I've said, is one of the priority areas in Indonesia's IT sector, including in the corporate sector. And if you have offers, if you have proposals, we would be ready to help you with sending your presentations to your potential customers and companies that are involved in distribution of these things. Dear participants, dear participants of the conference, we have already uploaded Mr. Rosamakov's email address and that of the trade mission in the Republic of Indonesia. It's in our chat. Trade mission is out there for you, and it's waiting for your letters. So time is moving forward, and we need to move on. And once again, thank you very much, Mr. Rosamakov. Before we move on to the next speaker, I would like to ask our listener with the nickname of Marshall. I'm a buyer for an African nation. Which department of Russian Export Center do I need to go to? Please give us the address. We have a buyer here. So we've uploaded in our chat the address of an employee of the Russian Export Center. You can write to, and he will be ready to help you with selecting a an employer, an exporter that would provide you with the best product for your needs. So, Marshall, Russian products for the African market are awaiting you. Thank you very much for your query. And we are moving on. The next speaker has really seen it all. And he will tell us about how to structure export of Russian IT solutions. And this will be presented by Evgeny Zubakov, International Sales Director of Speech Technology Center. It's a Russian developer in the area of speech recognition. They're also involved in face recognition and in multimodal biometry. The company was established in 1990. And now it's an international group that is implementing international scale projects. Evgeny, it's always interesting to learn from experience like yours. And please try to stick to the 12-minute time limit. Thank you very much, Mr. Zhukovsky. Indeed, our company has been around for 30 years, and 20 of those we have been present on international markets. We've seen a lot of successes over these years. We've made mistakes too. So we have some experience we can share with our colleagues, and I would be delighted to discuss with them what is going on right now and how can you promote your products on the international market. A few words about our market, or about our company. Today, we are one of the strongest players on the speech recognition technology markets, face recognition and whatnot in Russia, and one of the leading companies in the world in a number of areas, according to international benchmarks and contests on speech recognition, voice recognition, and face recognition. And those of you who are just making their first steps in exports, I'd like to draw attention to the fact that when you participate in open benchmarks and contests, and when you get in the top 10 or 20 spots of various rankings, this is something that is really going to help you a lot. Don't be afraid to spend some time and money on that. That is something that's going to be very helpful to you whenever you try to sell your products to other countries. Over the recent years, we have made a lot of progress in exports. Our export revenues have been doubling over the last 5 years. 2020 was quite hard, granted, but since we had already accumulated some momentum by then, we still managed to implement a number of very important projects in 2020, although we had to completely restructure our mode of operation dealing with our partners. So, over the last 20 years, we have been supplying our products to more than 75 countries, and we have developed a very extensive partnership network. Thanks to this experts, partners network, we get contracts and projects around the globe in various countries. To follow up on what Mr. Makarov said about selecting the markets for your products, I'd like to say that Russian companies face two alternatives. It's either going to Western Europe and North America. These are stable countries, stable political systems, well-developed economies, and in terms of speech technology, just the market of North America is larger than the entire rest of the world voice recognition technology market. That's very promising and tempting, but it also says that our Western competitors are quite comfortable on that market and would be difficult for us to move them out of the way. But other markets are still being shaped, and it's going to be easier to grab a more or less significant share. So, plus there are sanctions and other geopolitical factors that you need to keep in mind, and therefore we made our choice in favor of developing nations, Latin America, Middle East, and North Africa, and Asia Pacific region, and of course primarily large countries such as Indonesia, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and others. Now I'd like to make a point. If a Russian company is not directly linked to our state agencies, they still don't have any barriers to be successful in Western Europe and in the United States. In many areas, in many respects, Russian technologies are better and more developed than what is offered in those nations. Indeed, competition is quite tight there, especially competition from promising startups, but our companies do have a future there, and this market can also be considered. Speaking about emerging markets and developing countries, it is important to realize, and again, thinking about the questions that we have seen, our country is outpacing many of them in terms of technology development, and therefore we need to lead the customers in those countries. They're not going to be asking us about certain systems because they may not even know about them. We need to be proactive in telling our customers about our positive experience and about implementing that positive experience. And I would like to say that you could use our trade missions and the Russian Expert Center for their advice and for transmitting your message to your clients and telling them what you can do for them. Over our existence, we have looked at 3 different formats of entering foreign markets. And this is the choice that any company would be faced with if it wants to export to foreign markets. And here's the choice. You can work from Russia and develop your partnership network abroad, and the budget you would need for that. That would be probably the minimal budget that you would need. But at the same time, it's a longer way, and it's the path where you would encounter issues. communicating with local companies. When you are communicating with companies in Indonesia, Ecuador, Mexico remotely, especially given your time difference, especially through Zoom, via Zoom, you will have communication problems. And as Valentin Makarov said, you need to really consider their culture, take that into account. But without local partners, you're not going to be able to make success in most countries. The second possible option would be to set up some kind of a joint venture, either with a local state customer buyer or state development organizations that many countries now have, sovereign funds, investment funds in all companies, in all countries, and not. And they are now developing their digital economies. You can take any of the countries from this list of developing nations, and you will see that they have a plan to develop their digital technologies, and they will want to have access to advanced technologies. But this is a more costly solution. It will require greater expenses on your legal support and consulting support. But over the long haul, it's something that will produce very good results. And the third way is to open a local office, local team. You would need to hire your salespeople, engineers, and so on. This is probably the most effective, but it's also the costliest of the three of them. And so my recommendation is to take this route only once you've found an anchor client in a particular country that would already have some contracts and projects that would allow you to sustain that office in that country. Without that, you are going to be able to burn a lot of money without getting any good outcome and good results. And we've seen examples of that, unfortunately, with Russian companies involved, and that doesn't always work. So you need to first get a client, get some revenue that supports that your product is of interest on that market, that you can sell it there. And once that is done, you will be able to set up your own office and expand your team. I try to formulate, in a general sense, what customers want in developing countries. I've separated them into two groups: B2G, the state sector, and the B2B customers. Of course, in the state sector, the trend for digital sovereignty and independence is flying high, and no one wants to buy imported solutions for a large cost that can be switched off, or the support of which can be switched off at any moment, including support. And so the customers decided that they want to buy solutions that would be sustainable and that would allow their country to be independent from importing suppliers. And therefore, everyone wants to focus on developing local competencies, developing local talent that would be developing these solutions. And of course, you probably don't need our recommendations. You would have to make your own decisions, but you shouldn't be afraid of sharing your even intellectual property. If you don't do this, somebody else will. Chinese suppliers will do this. American English suppliers will do this. It would be best if you educate customers, engineers, and developers for your product rather than sending them to your competitors in other countries. Another important factor is to assure guarantees that your cooperation with your partner is going to be long-term, that you're not going to disappear at one point. Many of them have already spent millions of dollars on systems that would stop functioning at one point. And so they want to get those guarantees. That could be a critical factor when they select a supplier. It's also very important to ensure that you maintain confidentiality when you work with state customers, and that you can help them with implementing comprehensive projects where you need to bring together various agencies and so on.
B2B segment, uh, clearly a huge importance being paid by customers to the quality and level of products and technologies. Unfortunately or fortunately, time is gone when uh, customers would send specifications. So we need to now conduct pilots and make presentations. There would be pilots. Uh, Otherwise, you would be spending a lot of money on those pilot projects. You need to be prepared for a lot of customization, being aware that the local integrators would be hard to train in operating your products because the technical level in many countries is still quite low. Uh, an important point is certification, but it depends on a specific project, product, and industry. What are the things to watch out for and to if you want to have success, you need to speak customers, you need to speak their language, you need to make yourself understood, understandable to them. English is not enough. You need to get everything translated into the local. Uh, if we talk about Latin America, it's only Spanish, Brazil, only Portuguese, no English language materials. If there is a possibility, you need to put together an international sales team. You need to invite expats, people speaking the language or languages of your export markets, people who understand the mentality, culture of respective countries. Our experience shows that it helps a lot. It's difficult to find such people, particularly in Russia, but it's worth the effort. Um, uh, a lot of attention needs to be paid to marketing. Oftentimes, Russian companies having a very strong product, they fall behind Western companies in terms of the marketing of their products. You need to put a lot of effort into presentations, video clips. Your uh, audience is now consuming content in the video format. Uh, you can put together very quickly, very cheaply, very good video content, and it would be stronger, it would be more effective than other formats. Don't spare time and money on that. Local events, um, specific exhibitions, industry events are very important, and REC is offering great deal of support. A lot of events can be attended, or you can set up stands with the support of the Russian Export Center. Uh, uh, at the end of the month, there will be a fair in Dubai, but there are other exhibitions, broader exhibitions, and you need to cooperate closely with the colleagues from the REC so that you can end up on the list of approved events. Personal connections are very important. Clearly, COVID is making travel very difficult, but this online mode is very effective and will stay in place for a long time. Andrei Kuzmich asked about things to be avoided. Here's a list of things to be avoided, a list of pitfalls. We made such mistakes, colleagues already mentioned. For example, paid acquaintances. The 29th daughter of the king was mentioned. Yes, correct. The 28th or the 25th actually would do the trick as well. Yes, there were many cases of using this approach when people say, well, I know the second cousin of a big boss, just pay us some money and we'll set up a meeting with him. 99.9% of such cases uh, end in nothing. And that would be the most expensive cup of coffee for you, and provided the coffee was good. Paying for client origination, for bringing client to a meeting. So all these people who tell you about their great connections in the government, most likely they will result in financial losses. No prepayments, only after payments, once you have specific results. The best criteria for choosing a partner, it's not only a person who would open up doors for you, but people who would be able to do something with their hands on the ground, would be able to do technical stuff, and roll your products out on the ground. The third common mistake, uh, requirements for exclusivity. People say, yes, we'll promote your product, we'll spend a lot of money, but please give us exclusivity for our country, only in return for a specific commitment in terms of marketing, in terms of marketing budget, sales. You shouldn't provide exclusive rights to anybody. You would lose that territory, you'd lose that country. Another common mistake uh, made by many our exporters, uh, market research, data research provided by local companies. There are major international consulting companies that uh, conduct research, they conduct market studies. If you have a local company consisting of former students, hungry students, you shouldn't save money. It would be better for you to pay more for a Gartner study than to pay for a study of the local company. Uh, you will be meeting with a lot of local expert specialists, trying to land a job at your company for very little money, or people with incredible CVs asking a lot of money. So you need to be wary of extremes, either very cheap or very expensive. It should be a red flag for you. Uh, at the same time, you need to be quite skeptical and weary of the credentials presented by your would-be partner. If a person says that I have 10 engineers, 25 software programmers, and 10 scientists with diplomas, you need to take it with a grain of salt. If your product uh, is technologically advanced, you would need to train your personnel. Just relying on people having an engineer diploma, uh, you would still need to train them, and you would still need to spend a lot of time doing that. And the last point, if we put relations down on the paper in the form of partnership agreements, uh, uh, evaluate everything in terms of money. If they say that we're going to bring you 20 leads, if we're going to distribute your materials among these people, it doesn't mean anything. You need to put everything in value terms. If they make money, you will make money. So these are the points which I wanted to draw your attention to, things to be avoided. Who to run to, who to turn for help, to organizations that's spoken before me, Ministry of Trade and Industry, the Russian Export Center. Uh, there's also Moscow Export Center, which provides support as well. Our embassy, under the auspices of the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They can be of help to you. And the main advice to exporters, uh, all colleagues cannot be experts in all fields. The colleagues from the REC, Ministry of Trade and Industry, uh, help them to formulate specific tasks, specific goals, who you need to locate, the name of the person, organization he works at. And that would make things easier for them to locate that particular person and to advance your cause. That's it. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, I would be happy to take them. Uh, Ilya Sergeyevich, thank you so much. Uh, your experience is a very interesting one. We are falling behind our schedule. I want to apologize um, to everybody. We are 15 minutes behind the schedule. We have a specific questions. Are there any requirements to the localization of telecom equipment in India? How can we tap into their market without localization? Does the same go for Indonesia? Very briefly, I cannot answer specifically. I know that India has very tough requirements, have preferential treatment towards everything that has a tag made in India. It's a everything which is made in China is a no-go, is dead upon arrival in India. Uh, even part of your server has components made in India is a no-go, and there are different ways to become local in India, and the local partners can help you with that. Thank you so much. A question. Uh, you you've been in the market for a long time. You have an expansive foreign partners network. Would you be interested in solutions provided by your colleagues, counterparts? Would you be interested in promoting those products across your partnership network so that you can make money, your colleagues can make money? Would you be interested in expanding your product line, or are you focusing only on your own products, in-house products? Do you have such practice? Yes, that would be of interest. Uh, we don't really have a goal of boosting our product line, but in many projects, current projects, there are certain goals, certain tasks that the customer has, and our products alone cannot meet those needs. And we always get in touch with counterparts that complement our products, cybersecurity, video surveillance, analytics, because we do not cover all areas. And uh, if it's possible to do bundling, yes, we are open to that, looking forward to that. If colleagues are interested, if they have any specific proposals, please send them. Evgeny, please provide your email address in the chat box. We will uh, make it available to the attendees. Thank you once again for your very in-depth, insightful presentation. Thank you so much. We are moving on. We're pressed for time. Dear colleagues, the next speaker is very valuable to us. We'll get back to Indonesia. We have a question on Indonesia. We'll ask this question to the next speaker. Once again, his experience is very valuable because he knows the foreign market very well. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Christian Fanke. On top of being head of the Kipidai Chita Mandiri Solusi company, he is also chairman, vice president, Secretary General, Vice Director of 4 Indonesian associations in the ICT cybersecurity areas. Mr. Fanke's presentation will deal with the analysis of the information market and cybersecurity market of Indonesia. Mr. Fanke, please, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Andre. Well, gentlemen, thank you for your time. And I heard some discussion about Indonesia, very interesting. Let me share my presentation first, yeah, so we can discuss later after my presentation. Okay, can you see that?
Да, прекрасно видно, вас прекрасно видно.
Yes, we can
Okay.
see the presentation. We
Yeah.
can hear you. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I will continue with the next slide. So thank you for this opportunity that I can share in this valuable event. So let me introduce myself again. Vanji Christian. I am director of two companies, IT companies. Daya Cipta Mandiri Solusi is a system integrator company, and PT Kota Cerdas Indonesia is more on the education and information services, yeah, especially related to the smart city. I'm involved in the Indonesia ICT Business Association or APTIKNAS as a Jakarta Regional Chairman. And also in Indonesia System Integrator and Security System Association, which is this is more on the system integrator and security, physical security. And also I'm the Secretary General of the Indonesia Cloud Computing Association, ACCI or ICCA. And I'm also the Vice Director Industry Relation in the Indonesia Artificial Intelligence Society. So you can also check our activities on the website, and also we have a specific website called the Event Cerdas, Smart Event, yeah, in English, that we have regular weekly webinars related to the ICT in Indonesia and technology related to the Indonesia, yeah. So let me introduce the APTIKNAS. APTIKNAS is the old association. Previously, we are named as APCOMINDO. If you are now in Indonesia, I think we have a trade from Mr. Sergey. Yeah, I saw the presentation and discussion before that. In APCOMINDO, we are consist of the computer retailers, yeah, in Indonesia. Almost 2,000 stores, yeah, previously, but in 2017 we changed the name to APTIKNAS. APTIKNAS becoming more open not only to the computer stores or retailers, but also to the system integrators and also related ICT business, yeah. So if you notice that Indonesia GDP is grow year by year, but since the pandemic, since last year we hit by the pandemic, and the GDP drops, yeah. But we think that this year, 2021 should be better, yeah, because Indonesia has a big market, and there's a lot of opportunities that you can also involve, yeah. And Indonesia is also considered as the one of the internet economy, the biggest growth in ASEAN. As you can see, in 2025, we are becoming and targeting to 3,009 million US dollar, yeah, the internet economy. And this triggered by the transformation, digital transformation in our country. Is if you notice that our president, Mr. Jokowi, in his second terms of the service, he put the concept of digital transformation for the country. And one of them is related to the Industry 4.0. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, this digital is becoming more as a key driven factor, yeah, for the digital transformation for the nation. As you can see also, the Indonesia market, yeah, the total population 274.9 million, with the urbanization 77%. It means that most of the Indonesian people live in the cities. We have one of the biggest mobile connection, 345.3 million, with the population among the population, yeah, over the population, because I think most of the people have two mobile, yeah, at least they have two mobiles. And we have also the challenge in the internet connection. Even we live in islands, but the internet connection is become better year by year. And also the multimedia or media users also 170 million. And this is also consists of the 61.8% of the population. The device also interesting, because if you want to enter the Indonesia market, you need to consider what devices we already use. As you can see, we have the biggest one is mobile phone, yeah, but mostly 98.2% is already smartphone. And we still have some more not smartphone, mobile phone, a small market, because not all the internet connection ready in all the nation. And the growth of the laptop or desktop use is also growing. Yeah, we have 74.7% already use the laptops, yeah, or the desktop. And then also, if you notice in Indonesia, our government, especially in education sector, in the last 2 or 3 years, they focus on deploying the tablet devices, yeah, especially during the pandemic. Now they are using the tablet device for streaming the video of the education to the students, yeah. And the other market, including the TV streaming, game console, smartphone devices, also growing year by year. And also the smartwatch or wristband, yeah, the virtual reality device also. So that's also interesting in this data, that our daily usage of the time using the internet, yeah, most Indonesian people, I think now since the pandemic, is also mostly they're using the internet connection most of the time, 8 hours 52 minutes, yeah. I think around 2 hours 50 minutes they are still using to watching the television, yeah. And time to spend in social media around 3 hours, yeah. It means if you are entering the Indonesia market, you need to consider to use the internet and social media as the key point to entering the market. You can also, the other things like music streaming service also, there are some big users in the big cities in Indonesia. And in what they use in mobile, yeah, they use for the video call now most of the time, 57.5%. And also watching the content of the television, yeah, because now everything on YouTube, everything on the podcast, yeah, they can see all the content, yeah, from the mobile devices. And since the pandemic, our government pushed the QRIS. QRIS is QR services, yeah, that can integrate it all the payment system under the government rules, yeah, the QRIS. That's why the scan of the QR code is also increasing. This is also pushed the mobile payment services, yeah. Most of the mobile payment services now, they also can be used. And also the mobile phone as a ticket or boarding, there are also some market for this. But we also have some challenge in financial sector, because I think now we have only 48.9% that has the bank accounts, yeah. And also the market or the people who has the credit card is very small, 2.4%, yeah. That's why if you are selling the goods or the products, yeah, in Indonesia, if you are asking people to pay by credit card, they will be challenged, yeah, because only a small portion of them has the credit card, yeah. But now, since we have some startup unicorns, if you notice, we have Gojek with the GoPay services, and also some other mobile money account. The growth of the mobile money account is growing also. And this is make people easy to buy through the online services, yeah, is 11.2%, yeah. But the number of the percentage is still still small, yeah, compared to the population, yeah. Okay, how we can search the product? Mostly now, because we work from home. Yeah, we search the product online. Everything through online. Yeah, we visited an online retail store in any devices 87.3%, and buy it or shopping it through the online 78.2%. Yeah. This is, I think the number is also growing year by year, because now people now easily to understand and how to use the mobile, or they can buy the item purchase online. Yeah. And the number of the people who parking digitally enabled payment transaction is also growing, yeah, year by year, and this is a good thing for us. But the challenge for some companies from outside Indonesia, because they need to also to consider how to tap the correct partner or the correct environment if they want to get the money from the digital payment system. Yeah. Okay, if talking about our subject related to the cybersecurity in Indonesia, we have the number of cyber attacks in Indonesia. This is also challenging, because year by year the number is also increasing, and we got this data from our cyber security center. Indonesia already have BSSN as a government agency who handle the cybersecurity things. This related to the phishing, hacking, cryptojacking, ransomware, malware. This is the 5 cyber attacks that mostly happen in Indonesia. And about the data breach, also challenging, because the people sometimes is more easy to give the data to the platform. They give the data more easy to the online. Yeah, that's why the data breach also happening a lot. Yeah, in Indonesia there are some big cases related to the government agencies, the application from the private sectors also. Yeah, related to the economic of cybercrime is also very big. Yeah, and 58% of the personal data was involved in the breach. Yeah. This is some of the big cases related to the data breach in Indonesia, from the online market store, from the governments, yeah, from the e-commerce sites. Yeah, there are so many data breach, and we currently don't have the GDPR rules, yeah, or the rules to protect the personal data privacy. Is still ongoing on the parliament. And Indonesia also, we are trying to catch up this gap, yeah, in Indonesia in global security index, because we see related to the legal, technical, and organization, also the capacity development and corporation. Our government try to reduce and increase this index, yeah, year by year. Yeah, and now we are the 24. It's better, yeah, compared to the few years ago. And cyber attacks in Indonesia is, like I said before, like malware, DOS, Trojan activities. Yeah, this is the most common cyber attacks what happen in Indonesia. Yeah, because the cyber security awareness is also still we still lack of this. The challenge we need to educate. Yeah, that's why if you are entering the Indonesia market, the challenge not only selling the product but also penetrating the market by educating them. Yeah, that's why the challenge something like that. But we believe that Indonesia, as I said before, that will be the largest and the fastest growing internet market in the region compared to other country in this region. But the challenge if we are selling the software in Indonesia also challenging, because I think from the BSA America said we have the 83% of the software in Indonesia is pirated. But in some case, because now the software is not only installed, yeah, but you can also rent it. The number is growing good, yeah, year by year. some of the activities related to the software, I think one of them is for example, like a website builder. Yeah, in Indonesia, it's reached a good market because our governments put the e-commerce related issue, yeah, as a strategy. Yeah, and the small and medium enterprise market is very big in Indonesia. I think around 95-96% of the small and medium enterprise in Indonesia, they will be need to have this kind of software to website builders. That's why this website builder is also growing. Yeah, and as you mentioned before, that the cloud is also the priority because now everything they must use it online. I think we heard before that some of the big cloud provider already stated that they will open their local data center in Indonesia, like such as AWS and Alibaba. Alibaba already have Alibaba. Google Cloud they already have. Microsoft, AWS is coming, and also another company, even like Huawei, yeah, they don't really have the local data center here, yeah. But the Tencent Cloud already have. So the cloud will be the priority. There also the change in demand of the cloud software in Indonesia. Indonesia is a very good market also related to the cloud-based software, yeah, because my own company also selling this kind of software. We have a good market in the last 2 years, yeah. And also the challenge related to the financial technology or fintech, yeah. The Indonesia has the biggest percentage also of the fintech adoption, yeah. As you can see before that we have a challenge related to the bankable people in Indonesia. So the fintech is one of the way that the people can have the account, yeah, on their smartphone or application. And there are some trends to watch also related to the financial sector. The fintech is the big one because every banks and need to work with the fintech now. The lending, P2P, and everything also. The IT spending sometimes is still remain flat in some way, but I think this year could be better than last year. The mobile transaction is growing and sometimes explodes, yeah, because so many like financial sector now they need to have the application, yeah. Then also the related to the digital banks, now we have a challenge because I think only 7 or 8 now becoming the digital banks. Most of the bank is catching up this issue. The mobile wallets, customer centricity, simplified core, and some acquisition also challenging. And now in the finance sector, they already consider to use cloud, yeah, as to put their non-core application, because for the core application, they need to have the local data center in Indonesia. Even they use the cloud, they need to have these data centers of the cloud provider in Indonesia. Okay, talking about the distributor of channel of ICT, I think like you have heard before that you can work with the local distributor, or you can also joint venture with the local partners. Yeah, you can also establish, yeah, your own company in Indonesia. You can capture the market in governments, banks, and telco manufacturings, and also some, if you are selling to direct customer, you can also direct to individual customer. I think that I can share today. Back to you, Henry.
Господин Фенки, спасибо.
Mr. Thank you very much for your presentation. That was very engaging. It's always very exciting to see the analysis of the market made by someone who is in that market, who's deeply immersed in it, knows it very well from inside out. Can you tell us whether you have any Russian partners with whom you work?
In some project, we work with, I don't know whether this company is from, I know this from the Russian people, yeah, Russoft. So Russoft is like a rapid application development platform. software, yeah, rapid application development software. But I think in the website they put the company not listed in Russian. So last year we also worked with the Fintech Lab. Fintech Lab is the face recognition, the security provider. Yeah, that's a Russian company that we have worked before.
Ну, не могу вас не спросить.
I have to ask you one more question. Considering that you are the head of 4 associations associated with IT and cybersecurity, and you're the head of 2 companies, and you have a lot of industry links, are you interested in expanding the presence of Russian companies with whom you've interacted in the past? Whether you will be able to respond to personalized queries, with whether you would be interested in doing that, who can approach you, and what areas of software would be of most interest to you if we're talking about Russian exporters?
Well, I think in some way, yeah, I see the Russian companies very strong in related to the security, cybersecurity, yeah, because I saw some my partners or my members in the association also work with some Russian company before. So basically, we are as an association very open for corporation. If you need our support, we will try to help. Yeah, you can also work with the trade centers. Yeah, if you have the trade center, I saw the Mr. Sergey before that you have a trade center also. You can also work with the trade center through the trade center and work with the association. Yeah, our association. So it depends on the target of the association. For example, if you are entering the cybersecurity, you will work with the ICT Business Association. If you work with for the cloud industry, you will work with another association. Yeah. So we are very open for the corporation, Andrew.
Спасибо вам огромное.
Thank you ever so much. I noted that your presentation contained your contact details, your telephone, your email address. Our conference is recorded and it will be posted on YouTube. Dear listeners, dear exporters, you will always be able to find Christian's email address and telephone, and you can write him a letter, and he just said that he is open to cooperation. Can you tell me, this is Olga's asking you, can one become a resident of local technoparks?
The local technoparks. I think in Indonesia, there are also some technoparks, yeah. So you can work with the local technoparks already, or if you are willing to open, this is also possible because basically now we have the technoparks, but this technopark is handled by the property owners, yeah. So the property owners open to work with the, for example, like we have in BSD is Apple, work with the Sinar Masland, they create the technopark there. But we have some also like recently we have a artificial intelligence center in Sukabumi that's also work with the local land provider. They create the technopark for the artificial intelligence. Yeah. So basically, if you want to work with the existing local technopark, that's also possible. Or you can also try to create one, that's also possible.
Замечательная возможность.
That is an excellent opportunity. Thank you so much. A question from Alexander Petrov. Do you know anything about the requirements for smart cities as you plan to move the capital from Jakarta to another location? Will there be any additional requirements on that?
Yeah, I think that's a big project, yeah, for our government. Even the state is still, sometimes we call it uncertain, yeah, because we are still waiting or still focused on the COVID-19 pandemic issues. But related to new capital, I think you can also closely work with the our governments, yeah, even through the embassy or through the trade centers, yeah, because you know, because this is a big project, yeah, you can also involve in some way related to the technology that you can provide, yeah. I think there are some already partners from other country also involved in this big project. So, but there is still a lot of opportunities that you can also join, yeah. In Indonesia, not only capital as a big project, but we have also 524 cities that you can work on as in a smart city project. And in many ways, you can also involve related to the cyber security, IT security product, and also some software, yeah, if you're willing to.
Спасибо большое, Christian.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you so much. Well, there are questions. Dear colleagues, I'm urging you, because we're way behind our schedule, please send your questions via email to Mr. Fenke. It's great that we have different opportunities. Dmitry Prokhorenko at the beginning was talking about single one-stop shop service. Mr. Fenke, in his presentation, he said that he is ready to receive your emails, your letters, and he suggested that you should use the services of the Russian trade mission in Indonesia. We heard the presentation of Sergei Yurievich. We have his email address online. I think Indonesia is a very promising market, and we covered it very well today. It's one of the largest global markets. It wouldn't be a stretch to say that. Dear exporters, you have different ways, a host of ways to tap into this market, be proactive, and you would be successful. Mr. Fenke, once again, thank you so much for your presentation. Now we're moving on. We have 3 speakers left. I think we'll try to make it within 30-35 minutes in order to wrap up our conference. So we're moving on. One of the key elements of the Russian expert support tools is provided by the Russian Export Center, the organizer of this conference. We have a front office dealing with lots of exporters. It's very well aware of all the requirements and their demands. So the next speaker is Alexey Vladimirovich Mudrakov, who's in charge of customer service project at the Russian Export Center. Alexey Vladimirovich, please try to make it within 10 minutes. The floor is yours. Thank you, Andrei Kuzmich. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Good afternoon, our foreign participants. It's a pleasure to see all of you. I'll try to make it on time. I'll try to expand my screen. The computer technology failed, unfortunately. Unfortunately, I cannot expand my screen. So without the presentation, I will sail through. So the Russian Export Center is a group of companies, different legal entities. So they have different areas of responsibility and will provide different ways of support. The key legal entity that is mentioned is the Russian Export Center, an expert in non-financial analytical support, is a center which helps to identify priorities for export competencies, for support in terms of non-financial support. We have the only export credit agency, XCR, and the Russian Rossexim Bank, the Russian Export-Import Bank that provides banking solutions to exporters. Our goal as a group of the Russian Export Center is to walk an exporter through along this difficult route from the initial stage to the contract signing. Those companies which are only thinking of exporting their solutions, they can tap into the Russian Export Center's School of Export capabilities. So if you want to export your products, you can join our webinars or online, offline seminars, and you would be able to figure out the aspects you need to focus on. As spoken before me by Mr. Prokhorenko, our regional network, our export support centers and export support groups abroad, in conjunction with the trade missions of the Ministry of Trade and Industry. So all these entities can provide support in export promotion to find first initial partners, to speak about the specifics of the market, to speak about market specifics in terms of the business environment, cultural differences, taxation, tax legislation, etc. So these are the tools which would make it possible for all major players, all export companies, to realize the areas they need to focus on. When the company knows the markets it wants to tap into, knows about its marketing strategy, it can rely on advisory services of the REC in terms of the getting intellectual property registered. It can use our services in terms of subsidiary support measures that would allow it to reimburse part of the costs associated with certification or registration of intellectual property items. Separately, for IT companies, we provide a special support mechanism. According to Directive 1596, we can subsidize part of the costs associated with the promotion of their products. Up to 75% is the competitiveness program. Marketing expenses, costs associated with certification and interface design, technical documentation adaptation. So all these costs can be partly reimbursed by the state. So the companies that are interested in this pre-selection process has started on September the 1st, will last until September 30th this year. REC website has all pertinent information, and you can use this support tool. If you enter a market, you have certain specific requirements that must be met, and some costs associated with meeting those demands can be offset. Speaking about support mechanisms and promotion mechanisms, one of those mechanisms that is being actively used at the end of September, support through the use of business missions of REC. We set up schedule for each year. Each year, we hold at least 2 business missions, industry-specific on IT technologies, and there are several multi-industry missions which can be attended by IT companies. So in addition to that, REC has subsidy provisions allowing to offset parts of costs associated with the participation in international events, IT largest events. Every year, for many years, is the event in the United Arab Emirates. We have several collective stands rather, at different pavilions of the fair. You can participate in cybersecurity stand, artificial intelligence stand. So information is available on our website, on our one-stop shop webpage. Please you make use of that. Interesting developments. What IT companies can use insurance coverage from XCR as a credit insurance in agency can insure credits. A company that enters into a contract with an Indonesian entity which sells its products and, for example, received a delay, a postponement in the payment. So there might be issues with receiving the receivables, and this might lead to further problems for the company. So these problems can be addressed by the insurance policy by XCR. So you can use insurance policy, insure up to 90% of all risks of the contract amount, so non-payment risk for commercial and political reasons. Having this insurance policy, you will have a lot of your issues taken care of, and if you incur losses, they will be compensated. In terms of lending, credit products, we have a separate subsidy provision allowing to reduce costs of exporters and buyers of Russian products and services in credit operations. So you can receive a preferential credit rate. And why we offering this product? You can, for example, come to your customer and tell him that in addition, you can get access to our products, and you can also get access to preferential lending terms in rubles, in USD, in euros. A rate is at 1.5% per annum. It's one of the tools to promote Russian exports, and it must be used. It can be used. The only restriction we have in place now, unfortunately, is that the customer must buy not only software products, but also in conjunction with a Russian-made hardware, either in a pack format or separately. So the customer needs to buy hardware and software in order to be eligible for that. Oftentimes, when companies try to enter international markets, they need guarantee products in order to participate in tender procedures. All these products, guarantee products, can be provided by Rosseximbank, and we provide guarantees for the execution of the contract, the repayment of VAT. So all the guarantee products that you might need can be provided by the bank. This brings me to the end of my presentation. I will provide my contact details. I will send them to the chat box. If you don't know me, please get in touch. I'll be happy to hear from you. Thank you, Andrei Kuzmich. I try to be as succinct as possible. Thank you so much. Two quick questions. This the Directive 2316, is it still in power, or has been replaced by Directive 15? Well, the first directive allows to compensate part of the expenses associated with the participation in an event. If a company decides to participate in a South African event, it took part in the South African fair, it entered into an export contract, and after that it can come to REC and gets reimbursed up to 700,000 Russian rubles and more for SMEs, more for larger companies. So up to 3 events every year can be reimbursed. In terms of KPIs, you need to ensure a certain amount of export per 1 ruble of subsidies. It's first year 4, then 6 rubles, and then 23 rubles. 1596 deals with different issues. It's about the promotion of Russian products, but both directives are in power. Yes, they're in effect. Yes, but those are two different directives. They're both in effect. Thank you so much. A question from Timur Baklanov. Is there any way to participate in JITEX conference? Yes, there is a possibility to participate, but depends on the year. Unfortunately, the application deadline for this year is over. So you need to apply 120 days before the event because it's in a collective exhibition. For 2022. This event will stay on schedule for the next year. So please
Спасибо большое. Спасибо вам
make
огромное.
your
Теперь
application.
давайте
Thank you so much. Thank you for your presentation. We're going to share your contact details in the chat.
Благодарю вас от имени всех
Uh,
экспортеров.
Thank you. Thank you on behalf of all exporters. Dear colleagues, we're moving on. We have two speakers left. I think 20 minutes will be enough for them. Before I give the floor to the next speaker, I would like to say quickly that Mr. Christian Fenke spoke previously, and I want to inform all exporters and attendees of our business mission that Mr. Fenke has received a presentation, an aggregate presentation of all business mission members. He has familiarized himself with that, and we are going to conduct business meetings with Mr. Fenke. So let's wait a few more days and we'll have further details about the companies and the meetings which he would be interested in holding, and we'll make arrangements for that. So getting back to very interesting topic of our conference. They say that people learn from their own mistakes, but we have special people, we have smart people, we have IT people here. So let's hope that that's not the case with us. I mean, us, because I used to be an IT person, so I'm trying to ride this wave with you, to jump on the bandwagon. Let's learn from other people's mistakes, the success stories and failures. Securian has unique experience working in the Middle East, and Alexey Rayevsky, CEO of the company, will share his experience working in the Middle East. Mr. Rayevsky, please try to stay within 10 minutes. The floor is yours. Yes, thank you. Can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you and we can see you well. Great. So, learning from other people's mistakes. I'm not sure about that. Smart IT people. I'm not very smart, probably, but of course, learning from your own mistakes. That's what usually works. But I hope that our experience will be of use to you. A few words about the company so that you know the context. We were presented here as Securit, is our legal entity's name, but we use our brand name Zigurian. So I'm going to be using the title Zigurian. There is no hidden agenda here, or we've been operating in the market since 2001. We focus on the developing software to combat internal threats. First of all, data loss prevention. DLP. We are fully a Russian company. We're a member of Russoft RPP. We have licenses of FSB, Federal Service for Technical Expert Control. We are headquartered in Moscow. We have an office in New York. I will touch on that later, how it came to be. Our product was recognized by the big three of the leading agencies, Gartner, Forrester, IDC. It's an important thing, an important landmark in promoting your products abroad, but we'll touch on that separately. But I just want to mention that it's very important. Failing that, our road would have been more difficult. Our products received numerous awards in Russia, abroad, and we have more than 150 partners, more than 10,000 customers. But our main business, our key operations, transactions were in Russia. So we were a Russian company predominantly. We always wanted to expand geographically because our products are not really tied to the Russian products. It's not accounting related, not legal databases. We deal in cybersecurity, combating data breaches, and our products can be used by clients all over the world, irrespective of their location, Africa, Middle East, US. So everybody's facing such challenges, and we address those challenges. So starting 2005 till 2014, we were trying to enter foreign markets via the US market. We spent some time working actively in the US. We took part in fairs, exhibitions, including the largest ones. We used to have a, a fully functioning office. We have US support, US marketing. We made two attempts at entering US market because the first attempt, our product line was not complete, so it was very difficult in terms of correct positioning. The second attempt was more substantial, but it ended in 2014. Why? You understand why. No need to explain. So since 2015, we decided to turn our focus on developing markets.
So we had some sales there, and the same goes for our USA forays, but they were just one-off sales. After we switched to emerging and developing markets, we started having projects in Syria, United Arab Emirates, and in Turkey, and I think in Malaysia on top of that, plus in Africa. But they were, again, one-off projects that were basically the fallout from our work in the United States. Then we shifted our focus to the Middle East in 2017, and that's what I want to focus on in greater detail right now. In 2018, with REC's support, we took part in GTEX 2018, an exhibition, and we worked together with a local distributor at our booth at the exhibition. This is very important to note, because when you come to an event like that, you don't know anyone, you don't know anything, and at best, if you participate in this exhibition, you cannot really count on some serious negotiations as a result, because that's the beginner's effect and the novice effect, and nobody wants to risk their money and get involved with someone who's just a new entrant on the market. Therefore, it's very important to have an active local partner. He will help you position yourself appropriately. He will bring to your booth potential clients and resellers. In other words, you are going to be relying on the image and the reputation of your partner to make your very first steps on that market. Speaking about GITEX, I don't know if you've been there or not, but it's a major fair, very active with lots of visitors. It is very versatile, from robots, copters, 3D printers, through AI technologies to cybersecurity and hardware, system software, and whatnot. It's a very broad range. It's very similar to our Comtech in the early 1990s. That they are quite welcoming to Russian products. If you talk to some of our other partners and they find out that you're from Russia, your negotiations stop there. But here it was the opposite. So as a result, we've gotten 150 plus potential leads or potential partners, 2 new partners in UAE, 1 in Turkey, 1 in Kenya, 7 pilot projects in Oman, Abu Dhabi in Turkey and Syria, 20 plus registered projects, and negotiations with clients from Lebanon, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and 1 contract was signed. That doesn't seem, or this may not seem as a significant outcome, but the market there is quite conservative. And as far as cybersecurity is concerned, they are especially conservative. Maybe for other sectors, that's going to be different. But in our case, our potential customer is quite conservative, and they would be unlikely to get involved with a novice. They will be keeping in touch, they will be monitoring, but they would not want to subject their own organization to unknown risks. unlikely. But in 2019, we decided to take in the JTEX 2019 again. This time we found another better partner at the booth. And certainly you do have natural selection for your partners. Initially you don't have a lot of choice, then you start interacting with locals and you find a better partner with better connections. So you don't have to be overly loyal to your initial partner. You're not a married couple after all, and so you need to find an effective partner and work with him. Then you would have a recognition effect, and people would come to your booth and say, "Well, we saw you last year." So there were more clients and partners invited ahead of time. That's very important when you are at a fair or an exhibition. If you go there, best not to do it from scratch. Do some preliminary work, hire a local PR agency, do some initial marketing and promotion campaign to be recognized by the locals. And then there was a more broader program that was organized and held by the REC and MEC. The result was more spectacular. We had more than 300 leads, 45 new partners from 29 countries. JTEX is a hub that brings together representatives from even Latin America, leave alone Central Asia and Middle East, India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Turkey. All of the neighboring countries and North African countries are represented there. Anything that's within 2,000 or 3,000 kilometers reach is represented at the JITEX. We looked at pilot projects with about 30,000 jobs all in all. Well, this is something that got suspended because of the pandemic. And an interesting note is that as a result of this exhibition, we spoke with the office of the Sheikh Al Maktoum, I think is his name, and they offered us a joint venture to promote our technologies on the local market, but we were not quite happy with the conditions offered, and that's where it all ended. It looks like my time is up. I think I've told you everything, and I only wanted to say that the REC and the Expert Center were excellent partners in terms of logistics and building the booth and in many other ways. It was really a pleasure working with these organizations, and we hope that we can continue cooperating with them. I have a couple more slides that are dedicated to the markets in question, but I think they will be quite specific for us, for cybersecurity. For other companies, they may not be that relevant, but since, again, my time is up, I do not want to take up too much of your time, dear listeners. And if you have any questions, you can reach us through the organizers and talk to me. I'm happy to talk to all of you and discuss with you our experience. Thank you. Alexei, thank you so much. If I may, just one question for you. Based on your experience, what is your estimate of the size of the budget an exporter should have if the exporter wants to enter a particular market, a particular country? Can you identify the size of such a budget? Well, this is all unique in every given case. It all depends on the technology that you're trying to promote. If it's something that's very unique, nobody else can offer, that's one story. If you have competitors, and in our case, our competitors are large international companies with headquarters in the United States, such as Symantec, McAfee, ForcePoint, who were recently bought by the likes of Lockheed Martin. These are the companies with essentially unlimited marketing budgets, and they have offices in every country. And they can spend their funds without any limits, essentially, and they can offer dumping prices. So in order to compete with them, you have to have unlimited resources. This is not a joke. This is not a figure of speech. You need to have dozens of, or up to $100 million. If we're talking about a guerrilla tactic entry, as we say sometimes, we cannot really, initiate a headlong attack. You need to be more subtle. And in that case, your budget would have to start at around $100,000 to $200,000 a year. If we're not talking about the entire global outreach, but about a specific region, if we want to tap the Middle Eastern market, in order to have an office there, in order to have a presence there, you need to have at least 7-10 million rubles a year spent on that. That's the minimum marketing you would need to do on social media and elsewhere. And this is something that you may want to do with the support of REC, because without their support when it comes to participating in exhibitions, just that amount would be the cost of your participation in such events, plus sales meetings, sales trips, meeting with clients. So that's about the size of it. What about the lead time before signing a new contract? From the moment you've established a local contact until you start getting your first revenue from the contract with such a partner, that varies on the product and the market. In our case, this is a fairly lengthy period. The minimum amount of time would be 6 to 10 months from the first contact all the way to the pilot project, selection, evaluation, negotiations on the price, entering into a contract, and then 30 to 90 days before you get the first transfer. Okay, it can be longer, but I think that's similar to how things are here in Russia. We have here projects that drag on for several years. The larger the project, the longer it takes. Thank you very much, Alexei. I thank you for your very engaging presentation. On behalf of everyone present here, would like to wish you the best of success in developing your business. Thank you very much. Thank you. Dear participants, we have now the final presentation. The next presenter, who is going to be sharing with us their successful expert cases, is Daria Obukova, a business development project manager at Prote Limited. Hello, dear colleagues. There is something with the sound. Is it you, or it looks like something is reverberating? Is it better now? Let's try. I still hear something in the background. That is strange. Everything was turned off. Let's get started. Okay, just give me a second and I will start sharing my screen. All in all, I am the final speaker at this conference. Everything has already been said. I really like to note a presentation by Evgeny Zubakov from the Speech Recognition Technology Center. Everything he said was very appropriate, and I'm essentially going to be saying the same things, but just about my own company. And I'm ready to subscribe to everything he has said. What's important? What are the things that are important to be made? What are the important steps that need to be taken? And how can we develop our relations with partners? And now you're going to see very similar points, but this time about our company only. Our company represents the telecoms industry. We got started in the 1990s. We became an independent company. And in 2002, we started expanding onto international markets. We develop everything from scratch, including the stack protocols, which is quite unique these days. So right now, we employ about 300 best telecoms experts and engineers in Russia and elsewhere. And we have already implemented more than 400 telecommunication systems in 35 countries, servicing more than 200 million subscribers all over the world. Our clients include mobile operators and land communication systems, service providers, and MVNOs. We work around the world, including CIS countries in Europe, Middle East, Latin America, Asia, and Africa. So a total of 35 countries, and we continue to expand. Our headquarters is in St. Petersburg. You can see the building on the picture. It's in the historic part of the city. Plus, we have an office in Europe and in Middle East, in Jordan, focusing on the local region. Why our clients choose us? Why do they come to us? Why do they ask us to upgrade their systems? Well, they trust us. As a Russian contractor, thanks to our competitors who come to these markets with their competing solutions, because we have more than 18 years of proven world experience. And we have been working with companies, large and small operators, and we also have been participating in a project to build private networks, because this covers the segment that doesn't have anything to do with telecoms at all. This includes manufacturing industries, plants that automate their production in gas producing industries and whatnot. So the market is growing, not just in terms of its breadth, but also in terms of its depth. And we also are chosen by our customers because we offer a broad spectrum of proven telecommunication systems. So we offer turnkey solutions. We have a lot of systems. Almost all of them have been in use in many countries for many years. They have been updated and maintained and supported. We have some new systems that emerge with the development of technologies, and that is what the customers value. Our success is achieved due to the fact that our team is quite compact geographically, allowing us to maintain communication on some of the most complex solutions. All of the projects are different, and it all depends on the network's architecture and what are the needs of the specific operator or customer. In addition to that, one contributing factor to our success is our affinity to building strategic partnerships with system integrators and the suppliers. We would like to say a few good words about the Russian Expert Center. We've been interacting with them for a number of years, and we'll see you again at GITEX. And our partners list includes Russian companies, but also local partners in the countries where we operate. This includes suppliers who offer adjacent systems or the so-called complementary solutions. It's something that involves a large project with several vendors. And here we work with global level providers and that is something that gives a boost to our credibility too. Plus, of course, it's the system integrators without whom you are not going to be able to operate on a certain market because of the overall mechanics on a particular market, and that includes cronyism and other problems. Our geography is fairly broad. We are in Asia, in Africa, in the Middle East, and I will speak about every one of them in a few words. I will share with you what is our pride and joy. Let's talk about Africa for a second. Let's talk about two major projects that we've implemented there. And both projects had similar features. One project is in Kenya, where we supplied a major number of platforms where we worked in an operator's virtual environment, and where we had to deal with a lot of design documents. Everything had to be translated into the local language, or in this case, it was the English language. And it had to meet international standards because the requirements are fairly stiff.
And a project with AfriCell Group, several countries in Africa, Uganda, Sierra Leone, Congo, Gambia. And this project was peculiar because the introduction took place simultaneously across several countries, and we benefited from our great staff. All our experts, all our specialists are well versed in this area. So we managed to roll this product out across several countries simultaneously. I would like to mention fairly tough competition in Africa and the need to exhibit flexibility and loyalty. Asia, two projects in Asia that I've chosen for you. Bangladesh, they have a huge traffic, both voice, data, package data transmission traffic. They're using different systems. Some of them are supplied by the Chinese companies, and they have their own protocol, integration protocols. This makes the project very difficult, and there are tough deadlines. We had to work very quickly. We had to be very flexible. Speaking about Nepal project, as a very peculiar country. Daria, beg your pardon. I would like to intervene. I have a feeling that there are people around you speaking. I'm in an office because we can hear them. If you can ask them to to stay quiet because your mic is picking up ambient sounds. Is it better now? We can still hear your colleagues. So ask them to stay silent for 5 minutes because the sound quality is very poor. You know, this headset has a noise suppression function. Well, they're not Russian. They're not Russian made. You need to have Russian made headset to suppress all sounds, ambient sounds. I'll try to cover the mic with the palm of my hand. So Nepal mentality. The calendar is different. Mentality is different. They're using different calendar, a moon-based calendar, and as a result, difficulties associated with the introduction of the system. Nepal is not a rich country, and the environment in Nepal is fairly outdated. So there are certain peculiarities, and you need to rely on an integrator if you want to work in Nepal. Middle East, as I said, we have an office in Amman, Jordan, that covers this region, and our Arab-speaking team is providing support and marketing support and other types of support. There are two successful projects, Corec Telecom in Iraq and United Arab Emirate do operator. In both cases, we had to deal with a lot of procedures, very tough deadlines, very strict document requirements. There is no standard procedures. There's no standard architecture or template architecture. Everything is unique. So, so much about it. I'm behind my schedule. Thank you so much for your support, for your attention. If you have any questions, my contacts are displayed on the screen, so please get in touch with us. We'll be happy to share our experience with you. Daria, thank you so much. Could you please tell us the most efficient way forward? You have plenty of experience. How was it in your case? So you found a partner, a local partner, you set up a local shop, you have your first client, then you move on. What's your experience? Well, based on my personal experience, the most common way forward is to rely on your relations, on your contacts. If you've been in this IT market for 10 years, yes, connections are important. We understand that. Uh, yes, just to clarify a question, when you were starting, because we have lots of exporters who are at the initial stages of their export activities, so they go to a country, they want to tap into that market, they think there's a promise there. What's the best action sequence? Depends on the country. There are several approaches which we chose. This goes to, particularly in the Middle East, you need to go via the ministries as well as business associations, which enjoy the support of the Ministry of Trade and Development. In some countries, okay, when you have a business mission, you meet with people for the first time, you talk to the people, and this leads to partnership relations that result in contracts. Yes. So what's the time span between the getting to know and the contract, initial contact and the contract? Well, on average, 2 years. So 2 years in your case. Okay. I also heard a number. Some exporters say that if you want to enter a market, you need to have a budget for a year or 2 years' time. So if you don't have money for 2 years, it would be a waste of money, waste of time. You would not be able to get up on your feet there. Depends on the way you enter the market. Yevgeny explained three different ways of entering a market: cheaper, on the cheap, more expensive, and on the cheap would, or more expensive would take 3-5 years. On the cheap, you need to plan for half a year, 1 year. In the first option, yes, I remember, but we're talking about rep office. So you say that the rep office, even with one person, so you would need to have a 6-month budget, and that would lead to success. If the first contract would come 2 years later, how will it work in this case? Well, option one was a rep office. Okay, from Moscow. Yes, from Moscow. That's the most expensive one. So you need to wait for all the pieces to fall in the right places. The first option is when you try to do things remotely. and you need 6 months, and 6 months later you will see whether you would be able to work in this market or not. And after that, you can start budgeting for further activities. Yes, it makes sense. Dear colleagues, if you have more money, you can move faster. If you have little money, you can first take an aim, take a good aim, take a good shot, and then figure out whether you want to be in this market or not. Thank you so much for your presentation, Daria. Uh, I saw your contact details. We have also shared your contact details in our chat box. I thank you for your presentation. I wish you every success in tapping into new export markets. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, dear participants, we are wrapping up our conference. Our agenda is exhausted. I want to apologize for uh, falling behind the schedule by 30 minutes, but we had very interesting speakers. I hope you will forgive us. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this conference, Russian Export Center, that is on a daily basis uh, doing everything possible to help our exporters access and succeed in international markets. Many participants thanked RSC today, and I think it's great. It's a very high grade, very high mark given to our organization. That means that the REC is doing stuff right. I want to thank our speakers from the Ministry of Trade and Industry, representatives of trade missions, business associations who shared their experience, had very interesting presentations. I want to thank our foreign speaker, Mr. Christian Fenke. Uh, I hope that we'll have further meetings with him. I want to inform exporters and mission participants that Mr. Fenke has received an aggregate presentation of this mission. If he finds any companies interesting, I think he would get in touch with you and would have meetings supported by us. I want to thank all exporters, all attendees, those people who asked interesting questions. I would like to wish every participant uh, fruitful negotiations and contracts. Best of luck and